Hello, everyone, and as always, welcome back to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. Today, it's back into Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. This is our play by email challenge against the devilish Mr. Lodrick. And it is now February 13th, 1942, as we motor along with 2 day turns, which definitely speeds up the pace. Some may say it even doubles it. Over 1 day turns, I think this is the best way to play the game. But as we're learning, carriers can motor around the map on 2 day turns, so you got to be even more careful than usual. Early in this game, the whole game is a carrier game, just as the war was. I mean, it's well modeled in that sense that carriers rule the sea. And for the first time, obviously, carriers were a big part of warfare in World War II. Before that, the battleship reigned supreme, but now battleships kind of take second fiddle to the big carriers because the carriers, if they move into your direction, they can destroy anything within 6, 7 hexes away, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's not like you can really fire back from a battleship if it's 7 hexes away. I mean, you just can't get to it. So where the carriers are early in this game is all important. It is everything. And if you're breaking down how the game goes, at the start of the game, the Japanese have two main carrier task forces that each either have 5 or 6 carriers in them. You, as the Americans, basically have three. You get a fourth one very early on. You get a fifth one in March. And so the Japanese have two task forces that are bigger than anything you can put together. Now, one thing about this game that maybe was a little bit different than what historically happened is in this game, what you'll find is people bunch their carriers all together because they want to protect them. It's easier to protect them when they're all together, obviously, and also they just become an irresistible force. Basically as a Japanese player, if you break up your carrier task forces, as the Japanese did historically, you're more prone to get into an even battle with the Allies. And so, we've got 3 carriers right at the start. If we put those 3 together and get around over by Port Moresby, let's say, um, if he's only detached 2 carriers kind of on their own with all the escort ships and everything else, we actually could have an advantage in that battle. But if he keeps all the group together that he starts with, we're never going to have an advantage against him in a carrier battle until very late in 42. You get some carrier escort, or carrier escorts, which also carry planes. And really in 43, then you start getting the main American carriers. So as a Japanese player, it's very smart to keep them together. As the Allied player, you always want to know where they are, and really you need to just kind of hide your carriers. I mean, you can't get in a mano-a-mano battle. As opposed to historically, the Japanese did take 2 carriers and put them down by Port Moresby. The Americans sent 2 carriers there, and while tactically the Japanese won that battle, I think anybody that studies that Battle of Coral Sea would think that the Japanese won it tactically. It really kind of bloodied the nose of the Japanese, and they were much less willing to just go on all-out attack after that in the war, in the real war. In this game, that's not going to be the case, so we got to find other ways around that. Okay, hey, that was a big lead in. I don't know why I decided to go down the historical road, but really, the most important thing I could tell you about playing this game is all about the carriers. Let's go to the stats for last time and see what happened. The Japanese ran 8178 for sorties. We ran 5103 for the campaign. You can see he outdistances us by over 100,000 sorties. Nobody took any air-to-air losses. Nobody had anything destroyed on the field, destroyed by flak. We took 3 operational. He took 2. There was not a lot of airplay this time. And I'm not talking about your Apple device. essentially, he did not bomb Rangoon, which is where we've seen a lot of action, and we've actually done pretty well in and around Rangoon. He did bomb in China, as he always does. He did bomb in and around Port Moresby, but we don't have a lot of air assets in those places. So he's just running around bombing as he will. Um, and so just nobody lost much this time. Again, I always say every turn that goes by when you're the allied player where not a lot happens is to your advantage. You're trying to get your chess pieces into place for later on. That's your number one goal. His number one goal is to try to take as much territory as possible. Now, he did take several bases, and we'll talk more about that. We have 925 political points. I've kind of let that get too high. We need to buy a regiment out now and get that out into the Pacific because there's no reason to be sitting on this many political points. Japanese score 13,503. We're at 7,499. Well, you couldn't get much closer than 2 to 1. Am I right? Whoa, my math is way off. Hold on. That would be 15.5, not 13.5. Well, I took that new math. No, he's not quite 2 to 1. He's about 1.7 or 1.8 to 1 over us. More than we would like, but we're still in fine shape. We have 496 bases. The Japanese have 341 bases. We've lost 829 aircraft points. He's lost 492. Allied Army lost points 6166. Japanese 120. This is where the real problem is, of course. We really need that to come down. I don't know what other way to put it. All right, if you saw a little glitch in the matrix there, I had to go back and make sure I was not recording with sound in the background. That's been a bugaboo for me on this one in the past, where I've recorded a whole hour-long episode, then all of a sudden you can hear advertisements in the back. Just wanted to go check that. Okay, we're going through the stats. And talking about the points here, of course, we talk about this every time. Our army points lost. We've just gotten ravaged in China. Although we're stabilizing the situation there, I think. Allied ship sunk, 365. Let's go see what was sunk last turn. Nothing. Boy, oh boy, is that welcome. Really like that. Nothing was sunk this last turn. Um, Ship availability. Let's go check that out. What's coming in? What's going out? What's coming in? Here we go. We'll sort that way. Anything interesting? Well, yeah, we get a couple of battleships next turn coming into Cape Town. The Ramillies and the Resolution, two British battleships. The Nashville shows up over at Balboa. We get two British destroyers, the Decoy and the Griffin, into Aden. We get these APDs. Now, this is kind of a new, well, I say new ship type. It's just one we haven't seen in the game so far. We did see a Japanese APD, I believe, but let's go check out the APD. What is this essentially? It's a destroyer transport, so it's got anti-sub capability, a 6. It can take very little. Many times you'll put a headquarters in here or something like that, but they're very good when you're trying to get to, an island invasion or something like that, because they've got this really good anti-sub, and they can carry some troops. And so they're very helpful. But, I mean, when I say some, this is not much transportability. But luckily, we get this big group of them. And that's really kind of what you would do is, load something onto all 6 of these. They get spread out. But that gives you a lot of anti sub. And, when they get there, they do have some troops they can land down on the ground instead of just an old destroyer that's going to, come up there and say, "Whoa, okay, maybe bombard a little bit." But this way, you got some troops on there. We get some new submarines, Eastern U.S., Mare Island. We don't often get things at Mare Island, but we'll get the trigger there. And then so on and so forth. The big one coming in will be the Hornet when we finally get the Hornet. But we've talked about that before. Group reinforcement schedule. We'll go look here. These are your planes that'll be coming in. You'll see the recon planes that'll be coming into the Resolution and the Nashville over here. Okay. Into Karachi, we get some Wapitis. Okay, whoopty doopty. We get some wildebeest, though. I say some. We get 12 of those into what I call W Town. It's the northernmost town in New Zealand. Wapapapakuri. Sure, no, it sounds nothing like that, I'm sure. But that's why I call it W Town. We get some transport planes, the Dragons, into Darwin, but these are the big ones. Hurricane Trops, love those. You know I love them. We get 16 new ones into Aden, and we will get that moving as fast as we can. You can see the planes that come in to get ready for the Hornet. You actually get the Hornet, your carrier Hornet, on the east coast of the U.S. And so the way the game works is you get that on the east coast. You get a bunch of destroyers that same turn down at the Panama Canal, and you just have them wait. You have the carrier go through the pipes down to the Panama Canal and sail on through. Okay, as you can see, I mean, we get a lot. The ones with all the letters here are generally carrier aircraft. They can also be recon aircraft sometimes, but generally, well, this is actually transport, but these are all carrier aircraft, carrier capable at least. They're not carrier trained at the start. Um, but you can see we're getting a whole group of them in at San Diego, which will probably switch in and out with whatever we have on the Hornet, depending on how it looks on the Hornet. And then you have some out at Pearl Harbor, Midway, etc., that you can actually train up. So we'll be doing that. And then you'll see, oh, at Colombo, we get 16 Hurricane 2B Trops. The K Squadron is going to be showing up. I'm excited about that. Let's see if we have an ace. We still don't have an ace. Gosh darn it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever made it out of January without having an ace, but this game, airwise, has been much different than what you'll see against the AI or just your run-of-the-mill Japanese player. Lodrick is quite savvy with how he does his bombing and where he wants to get in air fights with you, and so we just haven't gotten one. What can I say? Other than that, let's see ground reinforcements. I love to see Chung King pop up. Days until arrival. Let's do that. There we go. Okay, 2 days. We actually get some first Australian Corps stuff up in Aden. That's a long journey from Aden all the way down to Australia, but we need to take them down there. We're also getting these group wings in, the RAF group wings. Now, 221, that's what we have in Rangoon. 222 is what we have in Colombo. We probably won't get the Rangoon group all the way out there. So this 221 may go into Bombay or some other place where we need aviation support. Because if you look, they come with 75 aviation support. That's nice. That's fun. We get all kinds of coastal AA coming up. That's great. Everybody Chungking tonight. I see a Chinese division. Excellent. That's what we need. You want to see as much assault value out here as you can. 32nd Chinese Corps comes into Chungking in 8. So we get a division, then we get a corps, then into Seattle, the 44th Infantry Division, although that is tied to the West Coast, so no fun for you with the 44th. What else? What else is interesting? I don't know. This 1st Marine Defense Battalion, we'll put that out somewhere in the South Pacific. We got some Koi units. We got some Australian units. I'm kind of curious. I'm just looking down here really quickly. We get 9 Group RAAF. This is your air your air command in Australia. This will be helpful because we need more aviation support in Australia. We can get a lot of American planes there, but if they don't have support, it doesn't matter. All right, let's go look around the map. As you know by now, I like to start up here by Abaddon, and we'll kind of just look what's going on in the port. Tankers. I've got a lot of tankers here, and several of them I'm actually going to send to Cape Town. Why am I going to do that? Let's go down to Cape Town. Fuel 2,000. Now, I have got a lot of fuel coming from the east coast of the US that'll come through the pipe here, and you'll see it into this box. But this is not acceptable. We have got to get more fuel there, and we have got India well stocked. If we go to Bombay, fuel 636,000 tons and 262,000 in supply. What you'll find, a lot of your fuel and supply will, come over to the factories of Bombay, the fuel and the resources, everything to be turned into supply. But a lot of it'll stay in Bombay, but it'll eventually filter out. So we're in pretty good shape in India. So I'm going to take quite a few of these tankers and send them to Cape Town. Now, how do we do that? Well, it's a problem. Let's see if I've already set one of these up to do it. No. No, I have these right now going to Karachi, but this is a group that I will probably send to Cape Town this time. How do you do it? Well, you can't just, hit the base of Cape Town. If you do that, it says task force cannot move to that destination. Why is that? Well, it's just the way the pipes work, but you can't move through there. I wish the game would actually just kind of do this automatically. But what I do is just bring them down here by Socotra somewhere. You don't have to get too particular about that. Set them to go here, right? And then for their home port, I then set them to Cape Town. So with the game, the way the game works, how would that, sort of play out in reality? Well, they'll come through here and it'll tell us how many days I think to get on the map. No, not yet. It's got to take off before it'll tell us, but it'll come here. And when it gets here, it's like, okay, we're at our destination. It checks its orders. Is it supposed to unload? Is it supposed to remain on station? Blah, 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 blah. Well, if we don't have remain on station on, we have retirement allowed and we have unload cargo on, but it's not at a base. So it's not going to unload, right? It's not at a base. So it's not going to refuel, nothing. With retirement allowed on, the final thing it'll do is say, okay, there's nothing for me to do here. I'm going to go to my home port. So it'll come on the map, it'll sit here, then it'll make the decision to retire to Cape Town. And so that way, if you don't want to try to remember to come over here and move it, now what always happens because I'm OCD is I'll see it get here and then I'll change it. And then once it gets here, you can set its destination to Cape Town. It goes out the map, right here in the penalty box usually. So that's how I take it Abaddon to Cape Town. So basically we've just got a bunch of tankers here. We do have some cargo ships, and we got a new one, the IMA. Okay, over at Aden, we got some new stuff. We know that. A lot of Australian stuff sitting here. We also got 14 new Blenheims here. Excellent. So what we'll want to do, what I do when I see this situation is I'll go over here and I'll say, what's my fastest cargo ship? Now, it doesn't have to, in a place like Aden where you have a lot of transports too, you could put it on a transport, but really, why not take advantage of the fact that you could load planes onto cargo ships? I always take advantage of that if I can, unless they're all so slow. But 14, that seems okay. So what I would do then is I would just go form new, right? And then we'll do air transport, okay? We're going to have to resort that. I hate how the sort goes off on this game. What was the I don't remember which one we were going to take. I think it was the Livington Court. But maybe we'll actually, well, that one's got a good endurance. I don't want to use it for this. So let's take the Livington Court. Okay. And now you see down here, we have an air transport. We'll dock. Always dock when you're loading troops or loading planes. And we'll load troops. And there it is, the Blenheims. Now they're scheduled for 223 Group RAF. That is what I have down in Calcutta right now. So now it says loading group. We'll verify the load. We'll accept the load and we'll send it to Karachi as its destination. We do not want it to refuel, and we do want it to retire back to its home port of Aden. And off we go. Then we've got a bunch of transports here, which is good. Now, these just came in. They actually have used, a decent amount of fuel. If we look at the Meta, for instance, it's used like 33% of its fuel. So what I'll do, just kind of in a quick way of doing this. I don't know that these are the ships I necessarily want to use to take the Australians. So I'll just disband them in port because when you pull them back out into a task force, they'll automatically refuel as long as you have enough fuel to do so in that port. So we're going to want, let's go, how do I look at these things? Well, I'll come down here and I'll say troop load cost 3192 and I'll write that down, 3192. Cargo 5575. This is a lot, right? 3192, 5575. This big cargo tells me we're going to need cargo ships because you don't want to be carrying all this cargo on a transport ship. It's kind of a waste of a transport ship. You know, I mean, get away with carrying them on cargo ships. That's what you'd like to do. Now, the troops themselves have to go on a transport. You at least have to have one transport for every counter of ground units that you're going to put on it, and air units for that matter. Um, okay, so that's a lot. 3192 and 5575. This is kind of the same. 3192, 5461. So we're already up to 11,000. So like let's call it 6,300 and 11,000 of cargo, and then another one. So we're going to call this, I'm going to call this 10,000 just to make sure we have a little extra when we put all three together. So 10,000. And this, you know what? I'm just going to call it, let's call it 17,000. So 10,000, let's call it 18,000. 10,000 and 18,000. And then we have this other cavalry regiment. This does not have much of a troop load. The cargo load is about 2,000. That takes us up to 20,000. So we're going to be looking for 10,000 in troop load, 20,000 in cargo load. Wow, that's a lot. As you can see here, though, we've got some big boy transport ships. So if you look at the West Point alone can take 7,800 of that troop capacity. That gets us damn near to our what we need, right? But the thing is we've got 4 units here. We're at least going to need 4 transports. But the West Point should definitely be in this. It's also incredibly fast. Now, you can use this for what's called fast transport, but we'll talk about that some other time. The Mount Vernon also has a huge troop capacity. Okay, so that's good to know. The Oreganga, 4340, is pretty good. And these are both 20. These are kind of sister ships, right? 4340. What else do we have here? We have the Duntroon 28. Now we're starting to get a lot lower. The Duntroon, the Esperance Bay 2600. You know what? I would like to keep the 24 here, and it's a waste to put it in something and not take advantage of its speed, right? So why don't we put these three together? The Mount Vernon 6700. We're going to have too much transport, actually. We could probably, well, you know what? I am going to put these three, Mount Vernon, Orongi. There's nothing wrong with having a little extra. So let's do that. I always sort by speed. We'll put the Mount Vernon, the Orongi, and the Empress. So that gets us well over the 10,000 we needed. And they also come with 6,000 in cargo, plus whatever's left over from the troop capacity. So let's just call this 6,000. We need another 14,000 in cargo capacity. All right, so let's just sort by cargo capacity. Why not? Clan Lamont, look out. And plus, that's a pretty fast ship. I like that. But we could, we may kind of waste it if, if we're going to have slower. We've only got one of the 17s. So why don't we take the Samhain? That's a 14. Okay. The Dagfrid is a 14. So now for cargo, we're up to what? We're up to about 15,000. And let's just take these other two. All right. So that gives us way more than, well, I say way more, 7,000, 9,000. I always round down. You always want to have a little extra. 13,000, 17,000, 21, 23,000. That's perfect. Okay. So 23,000, we've got just the 3 APs. I should put a fourth AP in there. So let's go back to transfer ship in. We want something around the speed if we can get it, but this may be the ship that really slows us down. although it really won't, because as long as we're over a 14, we're not slowing anything down because the task forces always move as its slowest member moves. The Australia Star only has 1800, 26, 2800. The Duntroon moves at an 18. I'd kind of like to leave all these 17s together. Um, so why don't we hold on? 1800, 1700. We just need something for the rule. It's not like we need something for a lot more troop capacity. So why don't we actually take this one? It moves at a 15. It's not going to slow anything down, and it allows us to put the fourth unit on here. Well, let's make sure that's true. Let's take the transport. We can dock. It's got dock space here. 67,000 tons this task force takes up. Okay, so we've docked it. Let's load troops. Oh no, what's going on here? Not in strategic mode. Now, luckily enough, though, you can do it from this screen. You just click there. Now we could select all 4 units. Okay, loading unit. Then you need to go to verify load. It doesn't like this. It says we're not going to get enough equipment in. Um, now, what happens if you get here and you go to verify the load and you're like, oh, no, what's going on here? You need to go back and unclick those because if you do not, it will start to load. It will start to load on you, and you do not want that. Well, we need another cargo ship, and we want one that's going 14 knots. We may have to take one that's 15. Or will we? Let's go look at speed. Oh, here we go. We'll just get another one of this type. It's 14. It's just like the other two we put in here. Done. All right, now we're still docked. Let's load troops. Now let's select them all again. Let's verify the load, and now it looks good. Percent allocated 100%. You don't see any red here, and so we'll just accept that load, and bada bing, bada boom, we've got. Now it's telling us the Dagford isn't carrying anything, but we're over. We were close. That's why it gave us a red. Now we could do a just load troops if you see this and use minimum ships. Yep, that didn't take anything away. Use minimum ships, reallocate. Let's not do that. But I will say we could turn on load troops only, but I'm not going to do that because I want to take supply along with them. If you ever just want them to load just the troops and their gear, put on that turn load, load troops only. And then they won't load supply because usually these transport task forces will also load supply for your troops. Okay, out of there, I'm going to send them all the way to Australia. So these will begin to load. And if we go back here, now you can see they are, well, you could see it from when I had it up here before, but now they're all, starting to be on here. One little chit of them is on. This, locks it in. This is what they're going to load onto. That's why I went back on that verify load page and clicked off those things on for select unit, because if I didn't, if I backed out of that screen, they would have one little chit already loaded on. Then you'd have to unload that and reload it. It becomes a huge mess. So just always keep that in mind. Okay, I guess that's enough for the down, gritty stuff. Let's look just kind of around the map. At Karachi, we've got a lot of stuff coming in here. I don't even know what all this is. Looks like we've got fuel in that task force. It's a dry cargo task force, but it's bringing fuel. This one's got supply. We've got a tanker coming in with 20,000 tons of fuel. Another tanker. Oh, this is an AO for this task force. It's got 14,000 tons of fuel there. What all do we have at Karachi? We've got 3 groups of level bombers. Now, these Hudsons, I always get out of here. I use the Blenheims to run search. I probably should be more targeted. Now, you can see these Blenheims just got here. I've got them on training. I'll probably get them out of here as well. Training, this should be down for ground bombing, 8,000 feet. Level bombing here, 8,000 feet. 0 range, 100 train, ground attack training. I usually keep all of my bombers at Hyderabad. There easy to then move around wherever the action may be happening. So usually bombers have a really good range, and I always sort by support, and then we'll just take them down to Hyderabad here. Now you can see I don't have enough support there, so sometimes maybe what I'll do is put them in Delhi first. I look at Hyderabad and Delhi as my two bombing training centers, and so I'll just put that over there, and now it's over in Delhi, and you can see the plane. There it is. 15 of them got over here unscathed. One did get a little damaged on the flight over. I'll also take those Hudsons over here, but I'm not going to sit here and do that. What do we got at Bombay? What's cooking in Bombay? Probably some really good food, if I could imagine. Maybe a nice Indian buffet over in Bombay. I didn't even mean to do that. What do we have sitting here? Well, I can tell you, spoiler alert, we decided, I say we because I'm going to include you in this decision, whether I should or I shouldn't, to have the Indomitable, our new carrier is here, the Royal Sovereign battleship, the Dorsetshire cruiser, and the Cornwall, the Emerald, the Danae, the Dragon, the Durban. I put all of this together and had it sitting in Bombay. Well, that becomes very interesting very soon. You've noticed that I've started saying you got to make sure that the Japanese aren't coming through either here or up here, and you do all of that by recon. Recon is the name of the game in this game. Uh, well, we've got these carriers all sitting here, so we feel safe. We're turning this into a level 7 port. It's not moving particularly quickly, but it's expanding. It's up to 51%, and then it'll click over to a level 7 fort or port. And when it does, it can really rearm, a carrier task force fast. Let me give you a piece of advice. When you just have one British carrier and one British battleship, don't have them anywhere on the map. Keep them off map. Put them in Aden, put them in Cape Town until you have more backup. Now, another problem with having them here is I have no fighters over the top of them. So I have no cap over Bombay right now. We have a real lack of fighters in India in general, just like we do everywhere on the map. But if you are going to park carriers somewhere, you better have 50. I'm just going to pull a number out of the sky, but you better have 50 or more fighters flying over the top of them in cap. And as many as you can have. Ultimately, a carrier can carry up to 100, 90 fighter or 90 aircraft at this point. I'm not sure what I forget what the Japanese max is. I think it's a little higher than that. So you want at least, that many fighters here. Now I said 50. You probably want 100 if you're going to have the carriers here. Just keep that in mind. We'll see why later. So I'm going to be moving fighters into Bombay, and a lot of them. Quite a bit of what we got. If we look down at Colombo, we do have a fighter Hurricane 2A Trops, or yep, they are the 2A Trops down here. This is how I fly them at Colombo, which is they're at 59 experience. I think we can take the training off. I fly 50 cap, and I try to have 2 or 3 extra pilots, maybe even 4 if this fatigue keeps getting up around 20. You don't really want that over 20, right? At least I don't. Now, here at Colombo, I've got them at maximum at 4. I want to make sure I'm going to cover Kagala, Trincomalee, which is only 3 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, but Jaffna's 4 away. And that's why I'm flying them at a range of 4, so they also get Jaffna and they protect all of Ceylon. We also have some torpedo bombers here that famously hit or famously weren't here when his battleships came by and we had to drop a bomb. And I think we hit his battleship, but I don't think it went down. Would have much rather had torpedoes for certain. Otherwise, what am I doing? I'm moving everything to Calcutta, Madras. So everything comes into Calcutta and Madras. You also want decent forces in V Town or Visakhapatnam, if you prefer. You want something there. You want something at Kutak because oftentimes Japanese players like to land there. They know Calcutta and Madras will be bristling with defense, and so they'll try to land here. So always keep. I always like to keep 150 combat value at least in these places, plus the coastal artillery. You maybe even move a little anti-aircraft, although anti-aircraft is very hard to come by this early in the game. We can take a look at Madras. We got the we've got our Australian division sitting here at Madras. I'll tell you, I will eventually move this back to Bombay. I do like to have a division in Bombay, and I like it to be the Australians. They could then take the rail and help out wherever, but they kind of stay in Bombay, and then where you have the actual commands like Indian Command, Eastern Command, I forget. I think maybe Eastern Command's actually in Madras, and I can't remember now. Southern Command's in Bombay, Eastern's in either Madras or Calcutta. But anyway, I put all the Indian forces or British forces in Madras and Calcutta. I'll take the Australians back to Bombay. That way, if you don't need them, you can also put them on a transport very quickly and try to get them down to Australia, where, believe me, a full division at 479 assault strength would come in very handy. But generally, if you can hold India, you can end up winning this game, assuming if you hold Australia as well, but that kind of should go without saying. Hyderabad, again, I train bombers there. What's going on in Calcutta? Well, we got quite a few fighters here. We've got Hurricane 2B Trops. They are part of two. I said I had 223 here. Maybe I have 224 here. Then I have these Hurricane 2Bs that are 221 group. Well, we want to transfer those. We'll take them off training. Probably could get another pilot or two. Let's request a veteran. Sort by air. 56, 59. It's not terrible. Let's bring him in. Let's bring Maltby in. I want them to have some extra pilots so they don't get fatigued, which can certainly be a problem in Rangoon. Let's transfer them, and we'll take them down to beautiful Rangoon. Well, we can't get them there unless we use the drop tanks. So let's use drop tanks and now transfer to base to beautiful Rangoon. Oh, there we go. All right. To Rangoon we go. All right. So they'll be at Rangoon. This aircraft, I'm going to fly it at 20,000 feet. It still has 22 maneuverability at 20,000 feet. I think that's a really nice advantage. So that goes down there. And then we have another 221 group, these Hurricane 2B Trops that could go down there as well. But I may take those and pop them up to Bombay or put them in Colombo and change their command. So if we go look at Colombo, Colombo is 222. And if we go, I'm not sure, I can't remember. Yeah, we don't have one here. We don't have 223 or 224. We have 225 in Madras. You can see here 225 Group RAF. Um, I'm going to move those 2B Trops and probably put them, well, Colombo or Bombay. One of the two, and then we'll have to get an air command to Bombay. Now, 223 and 224 haven't come back on the map yet, so when they do, we'll put one of those in Bombay and change the command on those fighters. I've got things coming out to Akyab and Cox's Bazar. You got Chittagong, obviously. We're flying freight from Lado over the Himalayas down into Kunming. In Rangoon itself, we just brought those fighters in. We've still got, what, 9 Flying Tigers? Yep, we still got 9 of them. We've also got, okay, these are the ones I just brought in, and we'll want to put those on escort, and we'll put up a 50 cap. And then the other British fighters we just got these over here, Hurricane 2B Trops. These are brand new. They automatically came in here. I actually always do these on manual. We'll need some new pilots because this is going to be 16 total planes when it gets out of maintenance. We've only got 16 pilots, 14 that are here, 2 that are on the way. You can see the 2 are grayed out that are on the way. I've already requested those, but we probably need to request 2 or 3 more. And so we'll sort by air ability. Now, don't just rely on this. Also look at their experience. And if their experience is, only this 47, probably don't pick that one. Pick like 55, 58, 56, 58, 55, 57. Those would probably be three good ones to pick. Now I promise. Okay, so let's just go bigger over the map here very quickly. Where have we spotted anything for the Japanese? We don't see anything down here. Now he's given us problems with his subs. So I've got a lot of escort going on there. We see some boats, I say like they're fishing boats. We see some ships coming down here by Batavia and Oostaven. He's landed in Semarang. He's got more on the way, all right? So the invasion of Java is on. Interestingly, he just kind of passed beyond Palembang. He's just coming straight for Java. He's also landed over here in Sumatra at Bengkalis in the middle of the swamp. Up in China, kind of the same situation. We've got our defensive crescent here. I've fallen back, but we've gotten our asses kicked here in and around Cyan, which hurts. We've got to hold Lanchao. Normally, you need to hold all of this. Nanyang, Cyan, this is Kungchang, Lanchao. You want to hold this all around here. Now, Japanese are always going to kick you off this railway, usually. But you want to hold this down to Nanyang, which is usually the focal point of the battle, then down to Aichang, Changsha, and then, Wu Chao, Hangyang, Wu Chao, and around to Nanning. So it's kind of this crescent. You want to get everything back here, get it stacked up in proper command, and hold on for dear life. He's almost taken all of the Philippines. As I said, all of this stuff's coming to Java. In and around Darwin, I think we'll take an episode and talk about Australia a little bit. I've got a lot of things moving here. I like to have troops out of Cooktown. Now, this is a base force, I believe. Yeah, we're getting a base force out here, and I will put naval attack planes out here. So if he tries to get around this edge, he's going to get attacked. He's going to get bombed out here at sea. Cans can be very important, obviously. Also, if you have those 11 range naval attack planes, you can put them at cans and they can get things that come around the edges here. Townsville is the most important town in the north. You do want to have troops at every base along here because you never know where the Japanese may try to land. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, those are important. That goes without saying. Down here in New Zealand, I think I'll wrap that into the Australia show. Out here by Suva, he has not really pressured us much. Suva is the center point of the whole South Pacific. You've got the two subs that we've spotted out here. Now, I've got some destroyers. I'm going to send out here and try to go sub hunting. We'll see how that goes. I do not have enough at Nomaya right now. I've got a lot of stuff coming on the way. Port Moresby, we're starving. And why are we starving? Well, he's got a carrier task force kind of in this area. This is only one ship sighted. This is three ships sighted. It's a light cruiser and a destroyer we know of. But he's got a carrier task force out here, and it's not allowing us to get any supply in here. That's bad. I mean, I think he's eventually going to take Port Moresby, which becomes a bit of a challenge. All kinds of stuff moving out this way. Pago, Suva, Nomai. I'm building those up. He's given us kind of a free run here and let us take Canton. So I'm now building up Canton and Penryn. Down here, of course, I've got a little thing going on at Rarotonga. I've got my two main secondary bases at Tahiti and Haivaoa. I'm building them. You put base forces on there. You put engineers on there. You can see here I've got the Bobcats, Navy Naval Construction Battalion, and we're building the heck out of this port and the fort. So on both of these places, right? You don't really need airplanes back here, maybe make the airfield a one just so you could fly aircraft off of it. But really, these are just big holding bases, big ports to come in here. Well, they're not big ports yet, but they're going to get there. And you just bring your fuel and supply in here. You could either go on from here, drop it off, and have other ships come and get it. Keep your high value ships back here, have lower value ones here that pick it up and go out into the fray. Anyway, Up into Hawaii, I said we were going to cover these islands this time. Let's look very quickly at Midway. I've got fighter, I've got dive bomber. Now I've split up squadrons to make sure I have at least some fighter cover. 8 Airacobras, we have 6 Dauntlesses, and we have 11 Catalinas. So we've got recon, we've got naval attack, we've got cap. And I do that on all these islands. I've actually now got, now this was air transport. I think I brought the Dauntless. I can't remember which of these I brought out here, but I just dropped them off. I've also got transport that came in. I've got the 97th Coastal AA coming in here because I like to have a base force, a Marine Defense Battalion, and anti-aircraft. And you can get away with holding these islands for a very long time if they have supply and they have those three things. I've got pretty much the same thing at Johnston. No base force, but I've got engineers, I've got the Marine Defense Battalion, AA. I've got 8 fighters, 6 Dauntlesses, and Catalinas. So you can see what I like to set it up as. Palmyra, we've got 2 Marine Defense Forces out here. We probably don't need that. We could probably take this one and go put it on Canton, actually. And maybe, do I already have one out here? No. I think what I'll do is pick that one up and take it to Canton. And then we'll need to bring an anti-aircraft out here. Again, 8 Airacobras, 6 Dauntlesses, 2 Catalinas out here. Down at Christmas, we've got a Marine Defense Force, base force, and some engineers. No AA here yet, and I've got no dive bombers here, but I've got fighters and recon out here. Canton, we're going to need to build up. We've only got engineers out here, but if he's going to allow us to keep it, and you can see I've got subs patrolling and lurking, but if he's going to allow us to keep it, we may as well build it up as much as we can. Hell, if he doesn't come out this way before long, we'll even jump over to Baker and just keep that. Why not? Some of these little islands we may put something on. We may as well advance as close to Japanese territory as we can if he'll allow us to keep it. I mean, look how close Canton and Baker are halfway over here to Guadalcanal. So, and they're quite a bit north. So we may as well keep them if he will allow it. All right, guys, I'm going to call this an episode. When we come back next time, we'll see the combat resolution for this, for what will that be? February 13th and 14th of 1942. Big things are cooking in the next couple of episodes, so make sure you don't miss those. Anyway, this has been Strategy Gaming Dojo. I'll talk to you next time. Have a great one.